Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's dive right into this explainer and unpack what is going to be an incredible journey through U.S. history. Today, we're taking a close look at the Grade 7 St. Paul Middle School American History Framework. And listen, we aren't just going to be memorizing dusty old dates here. We are charting a course through the complex, sometimes messy, and totally fascinating story of the United States. So grab your mental compass. Let's take a look at your historical roadmap for the year.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with a welcome to U.S. history, then map out the epic course roadmap. After that, we'll zoom in on Unit 1, which is early colonization, followed by Unit 3, American identity, and we'll wrap the whole thing up with your key learning outcomes.
All right, Section 1, welcome to U.S. history.
Moving right along to Section 2, the epic course roadmap. Okay, so here is the first half of your journey. We actually start way back in Unit 1 with prehistoric North America, eventually moving into the messy formation of a new nation. Then Unit 2 plunges us right into the American Revolution, the Declaration of Independence, and, figuring out the Constitution. By Unit 3, we're exploring the real formation of an American identity. And finally, Unit 4 covers the intense sectional conflict that relentlessly builds up into the devastating Civil War. It is quite the ride. Then, the second half of the year picks up the pieces. Unit 5 tackles Reconstruction and the massive explosion of industrialization. You'll get into some truly vibrant eras like analyzing culture and civic identity during the 1920s, Jazz Age, and Harlem Renaissance in Unit 7 before trying to survive a world in flames during World War II in Unit 8. From there, it's navigating the Cold War, the civil rights movements, and finally hitting Unit 11, where we tackle the challenges of modern globalization and super rapid technological change. So, yeah, that is 11 action-packed units, 11 completely distinct chapters where we aren't just sitting back and observing. We're actually going to step into the shoes of the people who lived this history. We want to really understand their triumphs, their day-to-day challenges, and the incredibly tough decisions they had to make. Which brings us to Section 3, Unit 1, Early Colonization. The big, essential question we're tackling right out of the gate is, how did colonization bring both new opportunities and deep conflicts? And, spoiler alert, things get incredibly complicated when vastly different worlds collide like this. We're going to look at how existing Native American cultures encountered European colonizers. It created a situation that was completely ripe with unprecedented opportunities for some, but brought absolutely devastating conflicts for others. You probably have a certain image in your head about early settlers, right? The harmonious Thanksgiving feasts, the peaceful settlements. Well, we are going to analyze the intense and sometimes uncomfortable tensions between those simplified, feel-good myths and the actual evidence-based history. We're looking at the hard evidence here, folks, not just the popular stories. To really get the actual history, we have to understand what made these people tick. Take religious piety. This strong belief and intense devotion to a religion, it heavily influenced the laws and the daily lives of early settlers. You'll need to weigh historical concepts like rationality against this kind of intense devotion to truly grasp why people would cross a dangerous ocean to build a new society from scratch. And importantly, this unit does not shy away from the hard historical truths. We absolutely have to analyze the transatlantic slave trade and deeply connect the devastating realities of slavery directly to these early colonial economic and social systems. This isn't just some historical footnote. It's a foundational element that shaped the entire nation. Understanding this is absolutely crucial to understanding literally everything that follows. All right, let's jump ahead a bit to Section 4, Unit 3, American Identity. Honestly, you can think of this period as the nation's incredibly awkward and, frankly, turbulent teenage years. The big question is, how exactly did the U.S. figure out who it was while simultaneously growing way larger and basically fighting with itself? The country is rapidly expanding its borders, but as it grows, the differences between different regions are getting sharper and sharper. A huge part of this geographic and cultural expansion was driven by a concept called manifest destiny. This was the powerful 19th century belief that U.S. expansion all the way across the North American continent was not only justified, but entirely inevitable. It is a fascinating driving force in American history, and we're going to evaluate it critically to understand the immense changes and the massive displacement it caused. Plus, you'll get a front-row seat to the original American political drama, Federalists versus Republicans. These were the very first political parties in the United States. By comparing their totally opposing visions for government power and the economy, it becomes super clear that intense political debate has been woven into the fabric of American identity literally from day one. Which brings us to the ultimate tug-of-war of Unit 3. On one side, you have nationalism, this sense of national unity, pride, and a growing national culture. But on the other side, there's sectionalism, intense regional loyalty, where people felt way more connected to their specific state or region, like the North or the South, than they did to the whole country. This exact tension, pulling between unity and division, is what eventually drags the nation toward civil war. And that brings us to our final section. Section 5, your key learning outcomes. So what's the real takeaway here? By the end of these units, you are not just memorizing facts. You're building a serious historical toolkit. You'll learn to use hard evidence from actual historical accounts, explain complex colonial development, analyze those tricky tensions between comfortable myth and documented history, examine vital social movements, and critically evaluate massive ideas like manifest destiny. You're basically learning how to decode the real American story. So I'll leave you with one final question. Are you ready to look past the myths and discover the true evidence that shaped the world you live in today? This year is an invitation to challenge what you think you know and uncover the complex, sometimes messy, but always fascinating realities that built America. The history is waiting. Let's get started.